fire we're gonna have to drive right through. He says you better find another place to sleep tonight. Oh, that is what we're gonna do. On the way back, on the way back, through paper scattering. Palm, sparkling palm. I'm excited tonight. Tonight's episode is going to be the advance release of a song that's off my next album, which is going to release in July. So I'm really excited about it. I'm also going to do an official video for this tune, but tonight is just a live performance and a little bit of discussion about the tune, as these shows always are. So thank you. Let's go. Tonight, what am I covering? Insomnia, The Staying Power of Belafonte, Forgotten Dreams Under the World's Heaviest Russian Duvet, Driving Through Port-au-Prince, Sloop John B., and The Idea of Home. So let's go. This song flowed from an astounding email that I got from a friend of mine, my pal and collaborator, Jaime Widoft. Hi, Jaime. And here's what he wrote. Hey, man. If you look off the southwest coast of Haiti, you'll see an island called Ile Vache, and we are on the west coast of this island, Abaca Bay. Been snorkeling, kayaking, swimming, and drinking pina coladas, double shot. Go, Mr. Jaime. Tomorrow, though, it's going to be a bitch. A 30-minute boat ride with a terrified Miles grabbing my leg, then walk to the car, and then a 5-hour drive back home. Driving here, it was driving through hell. Tires still burning from the night before, and just a shitty neighborhood. If need be, we could safely crash with a woman who's from New York City, and also a Haitian Mambo priestess. Jaime. So I got this email and just thought, that's going to be a great song. So I fashioned it into verse, even tried some rudimentary musical things, and I sent it into my pal and my editor, Joellen Kwiatek. Hey, Joe. That's Joellen on the right, and the sculptor Ida Khalil on the left. Amazing, these women, and they're good friends, and they're good pals of mine. Dear Joe, Insomnia. I wrote a simple, sweet guitar duet. It sounded like a texture Belafonte would sing over. Very nice, and somehow this poem fit and seemed right, though I do need to rework it. P.S. Last night, question mark, half a pound cake, a microwave bag of frozen mango, and as a concession to moderation, I let go of the Cool Whip, ... Why? Leo. So the guitar style was not really a conscious choice. I just laid it down to sing over it. And as I mentioned, there were two tracks, a baritone guitar and my 3/4 size requinto. I laid them down, and they immediately reminded me, when I listened to them, of Belafonte's Calypso, an album I had not heard in actuality for 50 or 60 years. My parents played it when I was a kid. Maybe the connection is stretching it a bit, but there is something about the feel of the guitar that immediately brought it to mind. I mean, it doesn't sound like Belafonte in any way, shape, or form, but it just popped into my head. Regarding the poem, I usually sort through these texts for months, sometimes years, and one of my approaches is to craft the poem as well as I can craft it as a poem, and then start flipping it over to the music, then changing the music, then coming back to the text, changing the text to fit the music, and keep alternating this process until I finally end up with something that's complete and good, hopefully. That being said, sometimes the resolution is very minor. In this song, I struggled with the phrase scattering papers, which is hard to sing, but when I flipped it to paper scattering, it solved all my problems. And likewise, through streets, there was a phrase through streets. And when I added the article through the streets, although it's a change in the poem, but not terribly significant in this case, but it completely changes the singability of the phrase, which is great. Speaking of streets, so I really struggled over the phrase where I mentioned the streets, and I wanted a signifier and a descriptor. What is it like? What are these streets like? I was trying to do that thing that we do when we write, which is I don't want to exaggerate. I don't want to make it dramatic for a song. I want it to be accurate. I want to find the accuracy that makes me say, like, that's the line. That describes it. So I agonized over these streets. We're driving through these streets. What is your impression when you're in these streets? I was completely stumped. I couldn't get it. And this happens very rarely, but occasionally it happens if you're obsessive enough. I was in a 200-year-old farmhouse, a really beautiful place, placid. It's on the National Historic Register. There's a lot of history, obviously, in the building and in the landscape. It's interesting. In the bedroom, there are these iron windows that are on the floor, that are just at floor level, like half ovals. They're strange. But I was told by someone that those were used, you could lay down those in those windows with a gun and you'd be less of a target. So all the windows are like below your knees. But of course now, the most sinister thing in the room is the giant bed in the middle of the room. So I'm in this bed underneath the world's heaviest Russian duvet, sound asleep. And I wake up to myself sitting up, and I hear myself saying, "Through the streets so lean." And I immediately knew, like, oh, this is a gift. Thank the fates. I scribbled it down and I crawled back under the duvet. So that's how I got that line, "Through these streets so lean." Finally, I will also came to mind the tune Sloop John B, which I like very much. But that's another tune, really, the core of it seems to be about going home. The original line was, "I feel so break up, I want to go home." But, it's another gentle tune. It's a lovely guitar part. But it's about fighting, drinking. The captain, he hates me. And it's about a hard, hard longing to go home, which is, I think, kind of what this song is about. The gentle nature of the music, which seems so right to me now, is an odd choice, given the fact that we're driving through, fire and kind of civil unrest and dead bodies and risk. You're going to drive through this, you're going to risk your family. So why so gentle? I don't know, but I think it's about the holding in front of oneself the possibility of home, negotiating this possibility of home, using the promise of home to get through whatever needs to be got through, to negotiate that risk with some kind of placid determination. Hope on the way back.
Of course the tire's burning and the gunfire, we're gonna have to drive right through. He says you better find another place to sleep tonight. Oh, that is what we're gonna do. On the way back, through paper scattering, through the streets so clean. On the way back, iron dusk, through the narrow iron dusk. Driving through the streets, we see some poor departed soul on the ground, a poor departed soul right there. The sign of the road right there. On the way back, on the way back, through paper scattering, through the streets so clean. On the way back, on the way back, through the iron dusk, through the narrow iron dusk. He says, I know where there is a compound, if it's not safe to drive. He says it might be best to stay with the mambo priestess. Oh, that is what we're gonna do. On the way back, on the way back, through paper scattering, through the streets so clean. On the way back, on the way back, through the iron